just had a lot of bad habits. I played music, I drank too much, you know, did a lot of other things that I probably shouldn't have done.
Okay.
So I didn't have any really direction. You know, I wasn't doing good in school. You know, I was in college and I was a smart kid, but I was just getting, you know, why am I getting C's and D's in, you know, medium level college? So anyway, so I quit and went back to the gym because I used to feel good playing football. Quit playing music and went back and started doing some cardio. You know, really pushing myself and was like, man, this is. I remember that good feeling instead of, you know, having drinks and taking stuff and, you know, having that fake feeling of happy. Somebody's like, hey, why don't you, you know, you're getting ripped and whatever, why don't you start, you know, lifting some more and build some muscle and do a bodybuilding show? I'm like, yeah, right. Well, planted that seed in my mind, and this was back in 2004. And I did my first show, you know, basically to kind of prove to myself and to prove, at first it was to prove to other people, hey, look what I can do this. And I did the first show ever for me in 2005, October. So it was literally 2 years to the date that I went back to the gym. You know, October 8th, 2005 I did my first bodybuilding show. So 2 years after I started training again, and from being a skinny little music playing kid, it didn't really have anything on his plate, you know, other than just having fun. So anyway, after that, you know, I was like, yeah, let's do some more. And all right, and did the Northern. It's like, that's a pretty big show, and did well, and like, oh, let's do it again, you know. And all of a sudden, it's like, kind of got hooked, and I've always, you know, I went back to school and got on the dean's list, and I'm like, man, all this stuff started falling into place. So the training gave me a goal, and you know, as in bodybuilding or any type of athletics, it's not just one thing. It's not your training, you know. It's your how you handle stress. It's how you recuperate. It's how you eat. It's how you know, handle your family. And biggest thing for me is how you maintain a social life. You know, a lot of people don't know how to do that, and they become so wrapped up in themselves. I probably was like this when I very first started, but now it's a little. Okay, so I kind of say that because I try to challenge everything. You know, I'm not going to stick with what works. I'm not going to stay all the time. I'm going to try new things because I work with people. I want to show them. You know, people come to me, well, how do I get my chest? And the first thing is like, oh, just lift heavy. Well, that's not the case. You know, not for everybody. So we have to, you know, try different things. And when that client finds what works for them the most, with good guidance, you know, and all of a sudden they're running, you know, it's good. So I'm not following that muscle and fitness type 4 sets of this, you know, like we mess things up. Like you don't see a machine in here at all. And I have several bodybuilders. I have a lot of figure competitors that come down here and train, you know, kettlebells and ropes and tire and body weight conditioning. And they're looking great. You know, it's not, I got some big people, I got some ripped people. I mean, it's, you know, everybody's different. So, and I also, you know, I'm covering tattoos. I used to have dreadlocks, you know, down my back. You know, I've never been that just, hey, vanity, hey, look at me type, you know. I've done it for myself, and I've done it for my life, you know, my mental state. Like, this is what helps me stay, like I said before, this is what helps me stay in a good path.
Okay.
With focus. To take it to the next level on some of my shows, I really need to get bigger shoulders. Now, not everybody has you know, my body's pretty much an X. I'm not a giant guy, but you know, I can pose and look pretty big, very symmetrical, but my shoulders always lack compared to my chest and my back. So it was like, all right, I need to do some more presses. Well, every time I did barbell presses, you know, clean and overhead presses and stuff like that, and heavy presses, well, my right shoulder would kill because of improper training when I first started. I messed up my shoulder, went up, went back, and I couldn't control it. So I couldn't lift my hand for 3 months. You know, lift my arm over my head. Didn't completely tear anything, but it started to hurt every time I'd lift heavy. So I'm like, man, what can I do? Well, I found, like myofascial release, I found good massage therapists that can work with my tightness in the infraspinatus I had in my rotator cuff. It's one of your rotator cuff muscles. So certain muscles were doing too much, and certain muscles weren't doing enough for balance. You know, that's what the whole thing is. It's about balance. So I couldn't do that strict straight overhead press. So I researched and I see these guys doing, you know, heavy kettlebells. I'm like, how in the world is that guy doing that? I can't even do that with a dumbbell. Anyway, they taught themselves a more multi-planar way to use the joint. Instead of just one plane straight up and down with your infraspinatus in full contraction to go straight up, that kettlebell press comes from the front to the back. So what it does, I tried it, got a 26 pound, 35 pound kettlebell, fell in love. So I started with 4 kettlebells. I probably have 75, 80 now, and that's just in the gym. You know, I have people, I loan some to people. I got a little book of where's that 24 kilogram, black kettlebell at? Oh yeah, John's got it. Stuff like that. But then it's like, kettlebells, well now what? Do I really need machines? I got a bar, I can do heavy squats, deadlifts, power cleans, whatever. Ropes, this is the way to do cardio. Instead of getting on a machine that's guiding me, and putting my hips in that same groove, I like to mountain bike a lot. But that repetitive motion causes strain on the hip, on the hips and the lower back. So that's how I got here. I haven't had injuries other than when I first started, a repetitive bruising injury from trying way too much weight, 3 or 4 weeks, I didn't even do that move. I did presses and, rows, things that didn't hurt that area. Now it's fine. It's unconventional, I know, but it worked for me. There's way more. This is the best thing. Like, I do have a lot of, but it's not nearly the majority. A lot of people come in because their friend said, hey, I tried your workout, I tried your types of kettlebells, online or something. I saw you do this on YouTube, or I saw this on maybe Tigerfitness or something like that. I saw your stuff there and I like your writing. My writing style is I talk just like, I write how I talk, whatever comes to my mind. I don't try to point out. But anyway, people are like, hey, can I bring my cousin? Sure. Like, well, do you think she can do it? We'll find out, you know what I mean? First thing, doing a little assessment, make sure that the person's ready for it. And the thing is, kettlebells are so easy to work with a person that's just starting. For a beginner to resistance training, it's almost cake. It's not like, okay, well, you have to stay in this position and constant tension and stuff, and like with barbells and stuff like that, it flows. There's much more of a flow to it. I've had a lot of gymnasts, like gymnastics. People, when they're young, I'm like, what did you do when you were young? I bet you were a cheerleader. Or, I bet you ran track. You can see these movement patterns in people, and it fits with a kettlebell. So, like, why would a tumbler be doing strict, like, leg presses? How is that going to help them, catch them in a back handspring? It's going to strengthen your hips, and it's going to, but not in a movement pattern that they're used to doing. So, I've read a lot of stuff for the last, 6-7 years by like Mike Boyle and Gray Cook, all these, high-level trainers that are all about movement patterns. It's for athletic. I'm an athlete. He's an athlete. You're an athlete. My mom's an athlete. She's got a granddaughter. She's got to keep up with her. So walking up and down the stairs, walking up and down the stairs is not a leg press. It's not a bench press. It's closer to a lunge, Turkish get up, certain things like that. Like, you'd be surprised at what a Turkish get up can do to the average person. If they don't have knee pain, problems and stuff like that. But it's hard to do with your body weight. It's multiplanar, sagittal, frontal, whatever, the transverse, I can't think. But all that stuff's happening at once. It teaches your body how to utilize it synergistically, not just your bicep, I got people come and say, hey, I want to train my biceps. I'm like, alright, well, let's do negative one-arm pull-up. Supinated grip. They can't do it. Well, it's like you're working everything together. I get my biceps more tired and tight and pumped from doing underhand pull-ups than I ever can doing heavy or even light bicep curls. But the thing is, it's a movement pattern that your body is used to. We didn't evolve from doing a bicep curl. We didn't walk around like that. But anyway, so there you go. First, I'd probably get the pizza out of their hand and go for more Whole Foods. Just kidding. Talk to people. How is your nutrition? Are we eating good, clean foods, or are you processed and eating everything out of a box? And basically work on compound motions that uses the whole body, that basically drains the gas tank. And it's not taking a beginner doing 50-step lunges, you know, with overhead kettlebells and stuff like that. It's not having somebody do a Tabata with a, you know, 2-inch rope, 4 sets. You know, it's not like that. It's like, for me, to be a good trainer, you have to understand your clients, and you have to understand what they're looking for. You have to understand what their capabilities are, even if they don't know, right? You have to see this in people. But we do an assessment. I'd see, you know, background, medical history, and stuff like that, and then just start light. I've worked with enough people with kettlebells to find and know the basics to show. And we usually do beginner kettlebell classes that teaches. I do more of like the efficient, like the Russian type swings and stuff like that. It's more fluid. It teaches people how to use the body as a whole, not just one joint. But swings, presses, you know, overhead presses if applicable, Turkish get-ups, how to properly do a body weight squat. You have no business in squatting weight on you if you can't do your own body weight. So, you know, squats, cleans, certain things like that, you know, some rows and stuff like that, but mostly the rows are going to be with that, you know, ladder or the TRX or something like that. How are you eating, right? You can't, you know, if they're not eating enough food, you're not going to build that tissue. You know, you can't make a bigger statue without putting more clay on it, right? So anyway, so you get the food, you know, make sure that they're eating, make sure they're not overtraining, second, and then basically do more of a hypertrophic type of workout. So basically actually break down the muscle fibers. You know, when I'm doing kettlebell jerks, my goal is for 5 to 10 minutes. Can't do 10 minutes yet. But you know, for 5 minutes, I am not working on the negative. I'm not trying to break down a muscle. I'm trying to go for endurance. Do you think a marathon runner's trying to break down their muscle? No, they're trying to get to 26 miles as fast as they can. You know what I mean? As efficient as possible. So for the bodybuilders and people looking for getting bigger muscle, you know, we have to break down that tissue. We need sufficient rest. We need sufficient recuperation and nutrition. So it's more, you know, like certain types of rep ranges and stuff like that versus, you know, the person doing 100 kettlebell swings. You know, it's a little different.